Hello everyone, and welcome to this session which is focusing on supporting you in your digital submission when you apply to drama, performing arts or dance here at DMU. Very nice to welcome you to the session today, which is going to end at about 5 o'clock. So let me introduce myself first of all. I am Sally Doughty and I'm hosting this event today, but I'm also going to be talking about giving you some advice and support on your digital submission. So I'm Sally, I am Associate Professor in Dance and Head of Dance. So before I just introduce colleagues who are with us today, I just want to remind you that we have the facility for you to ask any questions throughout this session. So please do use the comment channel and the chat channel to raise any questions, make any observations, any concerns you've got. Let's try and put those to bed today. So any questions that you answer, we will filter through and we will deal with at some point in the next hour. So this is designed to be really helpful for you. So please don't sign off today at 5 o'clock going, oh my gosh, I wish I'd asked this question. You know, this is the space and time to ask it now. So let's see if we can clarify and put to bed any questions that you have. So I'm Sally, welcome, and I'm going to hand over to my three colleagues who are here with me today. So Eleanor, can I come to you?
Yes, hello, I'm Dr. Eleanor Parsons. I'm a senior lecturer in drama here at De Montfort, and I also am I'm the admissions tutor, so I will be seeing all of your digital submissions and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Eleanor. And Millie.
Hi, I'm Millie. I'm a third year performing arts student. So yeah, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And Barnaby, over to you. Are you on mute, Barnaby, still? Barnaby's really good at mime. I'm not sure what that means, Barnaby. Okay, so
I think Barnaby.
Go on, Eleanor.
Well, I think maybe he was wondering whether we've muted Barnaby. We haven't, Barnaby. It's not a conspiracy. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yay, Barnaby! Hello.
Oh, okay. It was just like, yes, I'm Barnaby. I'm a third year student. Well, I just finished. I graduated. So I have that whole experience of, like, you know, being in uni and literally is all going into lockdown and everything. So yeah, I'm ready to talk about that.
Okay, Barnaby, great, thank you. Just to say, Barnaby, your sound is a little bit quiet, so I don't know whether whilst we continue, you can do a little bit of sorting out about your sound level. We'll see how we go. And I think Barnaby's frozen anyway. So yeah, in case you didn't catch that, Barnaby.
Yeah, will do.
Okay, thanks, Barnaby. So Barnaby has recently graduated this summer from BA Drama. And so obviously Barnaby can talk about that, and I hope that you can hear him with his sound level going on. So hello and welcome. Okay, so we are obviously, because of COVID and the pandemic, we have made the decision as a university to not invite applicants onto campus this year. Usually we run practical workshops as part of our interview process, but we're just not going to do that this year for all of the obvious reasons. So we are asking you to submit what we are calling a digital submission or a digital portfolio. And this is really your opportunity to show us what you can do to show us your strengths on camera. So I'm just going to pass over to Eleanor now, who's going to kick off by talking about some of the things that you could be thinking about when making your digital submission.
Yes, thank you, Sally. So just to reiterate what Sally said about this idea that this is an opportunity for you to think about something that you want us to see. So I think kind of use, in terms of deciding what you're going to share something of yourself, something that's distinctive, that very much gives us a sense of who you are. And what we're asking in terms of the kind of parameters, the length of material, so it needs to be so about 2 minutes to 5 minutes long, and you're creating a video, and within that video you'll include a short performance extract, possibly extracts, think about what material you've got, and then but also if you can include a sequence where you're talking to camera, so where you perhaps frame what it is you show us, or you send us some of your performance, and then you speak about it afterwards. So, and that's opportunity for you to talk a bit about the piece or pieces that you've chosen, but it's also a chance that if you wanted to, you might decide that you tell us a little bit more just about your interest in the subject that you're applying to study. And yeah, I think that they're the kind of key things to consider. I'm aware that in drama you might be applying and not kind of see yourself so much as a performer. You might be thinking about an interest in directing or in facilitating drama, and it might then be that you decide that you actually talk for the 2 to 5 minutes. And of course there's a performance involved in that, as we are all aware at the moment. So you think about how you are presenting yourself in that moment, and we will be interested in seeing it.
Okay, Eleanor, thank you. Lovely. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of things that Eleanor has just talked to there. So in terms of performing arts and dance, it would be really great to, in dance, if there's something that you have choreographed yourself, if there's a sequence or a performance that you've choreographed that you also want to share with us, which maybe you are performing in, and obviously that's great to be choreographing and performing in your own work. But if you've choreographed something that actually you aren't performing in, but you want us to have a look at an example of your choreographic work, then do include that as well, because obviously choreography and performance is part of the dance course here. So I think you can be quite creative with what you want to share with us. And as Eleanor said just now, you can also talk to us about that choreographic experience in your little piece to camera. So yes, include performance, but I think you can also include something that you have made, choreographed and directed that you might not be performing in as well, because that gives us another sense of the skills base and the experience that you are bringing to the course here at DMU. For performing arts, we do ask for some video evidence of you moving, of you doing some kind of movement-based work. It might not be dance, because you might not come from a dance background, but you might show your movement skills and your movement ability through some other kind of movement practice. So something that shows us how you move is very useful. And also something which perhaps is a monologue, or it's an extract from something that you did on your BTEC or your A-level course. So something that also shows us how you speak and how you present yourself through spoken word is also very useful. If you want to sing us something, super, that's always really, really great to have a look at as well. But think about how you can best present yourself to us in terms of the skills base that you have and the experience that you have. So it might be more than one thing, it might be a couple of monologues and some movement practice for performing arts. It might be maybe some improvisation for dance. It might be something from your end of year show or from a technique class that you've been doing. Think really clearly and carefully about what is going to present yourself to us in the best light. And yeah, I'm just looking through my notes here. Eleanor, Millie, Barnaby, is there anything else that you want to bring into that right now, either from your own experience or something else that we can support the candidates to be thinking about?
I think a lot of it, if it's either in the spoken part or the clips that you choose and stuff like that, it's showing what kind of theatre or dance or drama that you're really interested in. And like, I think also don't feel too much pressure for it to be perfect. Like the tutors are looking for potential, they're looking for passion for the subject, and like what your energy would bring to the course, basically. So don't put too much pressure on it being like a perfect performance. It's kind of more just like a taste as well.
Yeah, lovely. Nice advice, Millie. Thank you. Barnaby.
Yes, I completely agree with everything that Millie said. I think just getting across your passion and, you know, why you want to do it is really the most important thing. Whether that's, you know, as a kind of direct as having a conversation to camera, or we see part of your work, I think just getting that across would be really good. And I think another way, another thing to think about is to think about your references and sort of you know, things that have inspired you, different companies or maybe actors or artists or whoever that particularly you look up to, that maybe you know you take aspects of their work and stuff. I mean, that's all that you can bring in. And then the other thing I would suggest, of course, no one has to have like amazing editing skills or anything. You know, it can be as simply put together or as complex as you want it to be. But if you know, if you were interested, what I like to do is, if you are having a section where you're maybe talking to camera and you're maybe discussing a previous piece of work you've done, or some of your influences or something, I do like to overlay on the screen like an image or something, just to kind of, you know, give like a visual kind of to what you're talking about. I always think it's nice, like I always think that overlay is a really nice way to be able to like get bits of your practice in and bits of your work in, that, you know, when you've only got such a short amount of time, you're able to just kind of quickly reference something and give us like a bit of an idea without, you know, going into like a whole 30 seconds about it.
Yeah, great, Barnaby. Thank you. All very, very good advice from current students and recent graduates who have been through this experience, really. So yeah, great advice both. Thank you. I think something else that is obviously very worthwhile doing, that I'm sure you are all doing as you're looking for courses to apply to and looking on, you know, DMU's website for what the courses consist of, is to see if you are able to submit something which reflects the nature of the course. So each course, drama, performing arts and dance, has a contemporary aspect to it. So whilst obviously, you know, there's all sorts of different styles and techniques and practices which go on as part of those courses, you know, we are ostensibly contemporary courses. And so think about what you might want to present of yourself that also relates to that contemporary nature. Now, I know that obviously, you know, some candidates have not had the chance, for example, to do dance A-level or BTEC because their school or college hasn't offered it, and we completely appreciate that. So if you do need to submit something which is from a piece of musical theatre, for example, you know, we can of course assess you based on that, but perhaps in your piece to camera, in what you talk about and how you talk about that, I think it's also really useful to relate to other practitioners who you may not have studied or worked with, but who interest you, so that we can begin to get a sense of the breadth of your knowledge in the field of work that you will study at DMU. So please don't worry if all you've got is a really beautiful ballet sequence. You know, we can certainly look at that, but I think then you can talk about other kinds of work that interests you in your piece to camera. Millie, were you going to say something then?
I wasn't, but I completely agree. Like, I think it's obviously everyone's coming from different situations, aren't they? And you might not be having in-person classes that you could create something in at the moment, or having to work very differently. So yeah, just use anything that shows your skills. And then you can also talk about how maybe that's not what you're wanting to go forward in. That shows that you've got skills in X, Y, and Z, but this company really interests you, and this company or this artist really interests you, and tell us why. Why do you want to learn more about that? Why would that be useful? That kind of thing.
Yeah. See, I knew you wanted to say something, Millie, didn't I? Okay, great. Thank you for that. Brilliant. Okay. Okay. Barnaby and Millie, any more advice on how to get get these little clips together? Any advice on phone editing software, anything like that?
Well, of course, you know, a lot of people do have iPhones, so you know, iMovie is always a free resource which is there to use. You can also, you know, if you wanted to do something a bit more complicated, which again I stress is not necessary, like you can overlay, you can do whatever, you could just put clips together in iMovie. But if you did want to, the Adobe Creative Cloud is really good for that. You know, I went and did a video act for the Loud to Create Arts Festival, which was really a continuation of work that I kind of been doing in my dissertation at uni in the drama course. And you know, for that, because it was a lot more complicated, I kind of had like flashing, a lot of flashing images and kind of filters and or lots of things overlaying that I did useful. I think that was about £9.99 for a month. So you know, like if you're only going to use it for like one project at a time, like you may as well just just use your free trial for a month and do that. But like I say, it's not absolutely necessary. And then of course it's simple things like, you know, lighting I think is important. I'm always pulling lamps from other rooms. So even today for this live stream, I've got a little lamp behind the camera and things. And you don't need whole professional ring lights or like everything like that. So again, like, you know, a lot of things are actually quite, you know, available on Amazon and online to be able to pay for like really cheaply. So right now as well on my phone, I'm, you know, streaming from my phone, but I have a mini tripod. I think it was maybe 15 to 20 pounds. I ordered it off like online, and you know, it has like bendy legs and things, so I could stick it up like on my bed frame or like maybe on the stairs or something, and you can stick it anywhere and just kind of pull it around. And also the last thing I was also going to mention was about, you know, like Millie and Sally said, you know, we're coming from different situations, and you know, I'm sure, you know, some people have very busy households, you know, with lots going on, lots of sound, and so I think it's also, you know, I kind of struggled with that when I was making work at uni. But then one way my lecturer kind of put it to me was to, you know, just plan and kind of, you know what you're going to do, so that when you have those moments maybe where, you know, perhaps lots of people are out, or maybe you're free, you're the only person at home and you have got that quiet time, you can just, you know, you can really take advantage of that and just get on and do it. So you can kind of do your planning, kind of know what you need recording, so then when you actually come to record, you know, you're very ready to do it. I think that's a really good way to, you know, manage your nerves with that as well, to make sure, you know, when the camera is on, you're not kind of just like totally kind of, you know, startled or scared by it. Like if it's just more of a process, you planned it as kind of a routine, then yeah, I think hopefully you can do the best job that you can in the circumstances.
Just to throw that out there as well, for people who, like, I know I didn't have a MacBook before I came to uni, so like iMovie and all of that kind of thing wasn't available for me. So I think a lot of people will be in a similar situation. On Android and Apple, there's so many free apps that you can edit your videos on. I used one called Splice, and you can pay for it, but there's no need to. You can, for what the tutors are asking for, free versions of these types of apps are going to be absolutely fine, and you can get your dad or your brother or sister to film you in the garden doing a dance piece. I think like Barnaby will probably agree. Even we've had to really change the way that we're working, so we can relate to you in that sense. So it's not always about being in a big, perfect lit studio. Do it in your garden, go down to a local park, or in your bedroom, in the shower, anywhere. And I think also the choosers will appreciate what creative spin you've put on that as well. So yeah, there's loads of apps, so don't worry about using fancy software. Just download an app and you can literally just cut them all together and you should be fine. So don't feel pressure about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's really, you know, in the spirit of the course, and the fact that, you know, when we do have our performance exams, they don't have to be in a studio. You could do them in a changing room. You could go anywhere on campus. You could go outside of campus. You can do it anywhere. And I think, yeah, like that real spirit kind of in the whole, even just kind of in the process of auditioning, I think will really help.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Barnaby, and thank you, Millie. And actually, to kind of build on the points you've just been making, that actually thinking about your location, thinking about the kind of spaces that are available to you might help you decide what to show us. Because, you know, Barnaby was talking about being in a noisier location. Well, that could be great if you choose a monologue, so or a performance piece, or where actually some kind of background noise is useful. And then similarly, if outside is the best kind of space, then kind of it might fit with what you're doing. So that I'm aware, if you're just trying to think about what to choose, it might seem kind of vast, and there's a lot of scope in terms of what you might do. So limitations can breed creativity. So you use them well. And then I was just going to pick up on it's gone. I've completely lost my train of thought. There was a point that one of it that Barnaby or Millie made, that then I was going to develop it. Oh, it will come back, I'm sure. So in a moment, I might put my hand up, Sally, and say, "Oh, I've remembered it."
Absolutely fine, Eleanor. Come on back in at any point, obviously. Yeah, that's all really good advice. So thanks to the three of you for that. Something that just makes me think of saying is that obviously, because you are being asked to video and upload things, in some respects, you know, you might be able to kind of show us more about yourself than if you were coming onto campus and doing a workshop with us. You know, I think Eleanor's point about, do you locate yourself in a really noisy environment because that's the kind of monologue that you're working with, I think is really exciting. You know, so I'm actually quite excited about what we might receive this year in terms of digital portfolios, because I think you can maybe show yourself more in a sort of natural habitat way than you can in our studios. And Eleanor, I know, is going to come back in now with something. So Eleanor, over to you.
Yes, it was just the point that actually, in thinking about what you want to share, and it was related to Millie talking about splicing together materials. If you have already got footage that you'd like to share with us, and it may be that you've got some group some material of you in a group, so say in a scene, in a play, or in a group choreographed piece, then that's absolutely fine, and do share that with us. Just make it clear who you are. Remember that we don't know you, so that's kind of gives some purpose to your framing. And Barnaby was talking a bit about you kind of speaking to camera about what you've chosen, and it's up to you whether you position that at the beginning of your piece or whether you do that at the end. And I'm just thinking, if you're doing a kind of continuous piece, you might want to do your performance moment first and then talk afterwards, and that's fine.
That's great. That's such good advice, because very often I'm looking at a trio piece of choreography and I haven't got a lot of idea at that point who I'm actually looking at. So yeah, let us know somehow that you are the person in the pink sweatshirt at the front with the blonde hair, whatever that might be. Great. Okay. I'm just having a look at our prompts. I'm just having a look at what's coming into the chat to see if there's anything that we can respond to immediately. Okay, so I know that Charlotte, who is working behind the scenes with us today, has answered a couple of those questions there about where to send your video submission to. So that's answered in the chat. So thanks, Charlotte, for that.
We've got one that's come up, Sally.
Great, thank you.
So, my house isn't big enough to dance in. What should I do?
Okay, great question. And I think probably Barnaby and Millie have maybe addressed this already somewhat. Go outside, so you don't need to be dancing in a dance studio at all, and maybe you don't have access to that right now because of the situation that we are in. If your house is not big enough, then I think there's a couple of options. One is make something for the space that you are in. So make something for your shower cubicle, make something for your porchway, make something for your entrance hall, without killing yourself or obviously knocking over your grandparents' favorite ornament or whatever that might be. So obviously do a kind of health and safety check as well in terms of where you might be performing. But I think there's something really creative about having to work in a small space. As Eleanor said just now, you know, kind of creativity comes from these limitations. So you might want to think about that. But if you've got a very big, expansive solo that you want to show us, and your lounge is not big enough, is your garden big enough so you can do it outside? Or do you need to go to the local park and do it, you know, somewhere else? Check the grass for, you know, nails, screws, health and safety things. Obviously be safe, but yeah, locate it anywhere. You do not need to do it indoors, but be safe wherever you do it. I think that's the primary thing. You know, do a recce of your environment. Is it safe? If so, yes, I can film it here. So it doesn't need to be indoors. And if it is indoors, do you make something specifically for the space that you're in? So I hope that's answered the question. A long, a very, very short question. Okay, I'm just going to have a look for others. Okay, so go ahead.
Shall I chip in? I suppose just in for me, it would depend on what you've chosen. And so I think, you know, do address this question, have this a question in your mind, and think about, so if you've chosen, say, you know, in drama, you've chosen that, you know, a speech, and are you going to try and imagine that the camera is the other person, and in which case then you're talking to us, to the camera, or are you imagining that the other person you're speaking to, or the group of people, or actually you're on your own and there's, you know, multiple people, you know, or you're, you know, you're talking to yourself. So there's, you know, it's a decision that you just need to take, and yeah, try it, see what you feel more comfortable doing, and there certainly isn't a right way of doing it, so you just make a decision.
Yep. Charlotte, are there any more coming through? So yes, absolutely. You can include a clip of your singing. I know that in dance, it probably would not be that relevant for us to assess a clip of you singing, unless, of course, it's a kind of musical theatre piece that you're submitting because there's no contemporary submission for you to apply with, in which case, yes, of course, but chances are we would look at the dancing rather than the singing part of that. In performing arts, there's quite a lot of voice work, and I know that singing is part of the course. Millie, I'm going to come to you in a second to talk about that, because although you're not being trained to be a singer, you are being trained to use your voice in a number of ways. And so, yes, I think for performing arts, by all means include a clip of that singing. Millie, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Eleanor, what about for drama?
Yes, so similarly for drama, I'll be interested in seeing your singing, and it won't be something that we, you know, specifically will be developing in the classes that you take. But I'm working on a production at the moment, and I did a kind of poll last week to see who can sing and who is willing to sing, and because we're going to do some chorus work, and we'll definitely be, you know, using voice as part of that. And then thinking about, so maybe after Millie's spoken, perhaps Barnaby could talk about some of the performances that he's either been in or experienced where your peers, Barnaby, have used the way that they, you know, their ability to sing in I'm thinking about some devised pieces perhaps that you might have examples of, or perhaps not, Barnaby. So should we, Millie, would you like to follow up on that?
Yeah, I think it's important to not come into the course thinking that, like Sally said, that you're going to become a singer and we're going to have loads of singing lessons. You do have, I'd call it more like vocal skill lessons. So it's more how you use the voice, not necessarily singing musical theatre songs. But it is included in the course. So it would be nice to see if you can use your vocal skills and see what you do with that. But it's not necessary for you to be the next Beyonce to be able to get onto the course.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have to have, like, you know, the most amazing voice, and actually most of the time you can actually use that to your advantage. That's something I particularly did in my work, you know, particularly in my devising module, where I kind of, you know, used aspects of drag and things, and the fact that, like, you know, I couldn't, maybe like didn't sound amazing, or like, but I could kind of play with that, or play with the idea of maybe presenting presenting as female, but then you kind of hear this kind of maybe male voice, and then switching that and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely something you can lean into. I think it's generally like the same as what we've been discussing with being able to go to different spaces. I really think that it's just changing your mindset from kind of seeing these as limitations which are just going to hold you back, or you can't do it. Like Sally said, like, this is exciting. There's so many possibilities that you can get from working in this way, and you can share so much more of yourself. And also, I've seen other people use singing in drama really well. So there was one performance in particular which comes to mind, which was it was kind of a promenade-ish performance. It was designed like a workshop, like a like a gym workshop, and so we kind of followed along with her. And then she had this sequence where she sang, and this kind of been quite a tough workout really for the audience and for her. And then she kind of like put that all aside and kind of started singing like directly to this like little cupcake that she had in her hand. It was really dramatic and everything. And it ended in her kind of finally taking a bite and accepting her body, accepting who she was, and just enjoying food. And I thought that was like a really clever way to use it, like kind of think about how you can use singing like actively to be doing something. So whether it's kind of ironic or the intention behind kind of who you're singing to, I think, and like acting through singing and all that, I think is really good. And also like obviously Eleanor was just talking about kind of choral work. That's something we've definitely done at uni, particularly thinking back to Jekyll and Hyde, which it was going to be the DMU and kind of co-production. So of course we rehearsed for that just before we went into lockdown, and that was something where I was actually part of the chorus. It was something where it was it was a choice. It was very much who feels comfortable to sing. You absolutely didn't have to, but the opportunities are there. And of course there's like societies and lots of other ways you can get involved in singing.
Great, thanks all of you. That's really useful, and hopefully that's answered that question. We have another question about, that's a fabulous profile photo, by the way. Fabulous. So yes, so Eleanor, are you able to respond to that for drama?
I suppose I'm slightly puzzled by the question, in terms of, I suppose you can absolutely, so if you're thinking of a piece from the Marriage of Figaro, so a song, and you want to do that, if it's a sequence kind of, or do you mean more in the style of the Marriage of Figaro, so to kind of take a piece of text and then kind of present it in an operatic style? Either of which are fine. I think you perhaps, hopefully, kind of during the course of this conversation, will be seeing that we're very receptive to what it is you'd like to send us. So I think don't feel kind of overly anxious about whether it's something that we want, because actually what we want is what you want to send us. So I think just take that, think about send us something that you feel pleased with, that you feel shows you working well, and shows something of yourself that you can then send us. So yes, my answer to that question is yes.
Just kind of building on that, I know in performing arts, a lot of the time when we did collaborations with like the whole of our year at the very start of first year, for our post-dramatic module, we all sat down and we thought, we went through different skills that we think we can bring to the table. So I just want to remind you guys that like, you're not going to come to uni and there are going to be 30 carbon copies of yourself stood in front of you. You're all going to bring different things to the course. You're all going to have different skill sets. And it's kind of, that's the interesting part, because we've got someone on a ukulele over there and someone else doing a backflip, and like, what can we do with that, and how can that work, and that kind of thing. So don't think that you have to tick every single box. Just show us like what you're interested in and what your passions are.
Love it. I'd love to see that piece, Millie, with the ukulele and the backflip. Sounds great. Okay, thanks. Yeah, great, helpful answers. Charlotte, yes, do we have more? Okay, should I include one performance piece or multiple shorter ones to show more range? I think either or is absolutely fine. And again, I think it depends on what you have available to you. If you have, for example, a 40-second dance solo, and that's what you've got, that's perfect. And we can look at that and we can make, you know, a really informed decision based on that 40-second solo. However, if you've got 6 clips of, you know, ranging between a minute and, you know, 20 seconds long, then of course, yes, we can have a look at that as well. So I think it depends on what you want to show us, what you've got available to you, you know, what's at your fingertips at the time that you apply to DMU. If you show us 1, it doesn't weaken your position with us. And if you show us 5, it doesn't strengthen your position with us, if that makes sense. It's not how much you show us, it's really what you show us, which I think is really important. Obviously, you know, maybe something like performing arts where there is spoken word, movement, you know, perhaps there's a wider range of different skills, maybe interdisciplinary skills used in performing arts that are less used in dance, then I think it makes sense for performing arts to show a range of skills. So some movement work, some speaking work, maybe some singing. But in dance, that's probably less important, I think. So I think it depends on the course that you're applying to as well. Eleanor, Millie, or Barnaby, do you want to come in on that, or?
Yeah, I suppose I'll just add, just to agree with Sally, and to say that you might decide with drama that you want to show a piece from different time periods or by different writers. It might be something you've written yourself that you want to present to us, and then something else that you've learned. That's up to you. And so I suppose it's just thinking about what it is that you'd like us to see, and sitting them alongside each other, and there's potential for you to just explain the choices you've made then when you frame, when you speak to camera about what it is you're sharing.
Yeah, lovely. And I think on each of the programs, performing arts, drama and dance, improvisation and devising and play features quite a lot, it seems to me. So if you wanted to show, for example, a small improvised something, be it movement or spoken word, against something which is set and fixed, then again, that gives us an idea of your compositional, improvisational skills, as well as your ability to perform something that is very, very well rehearsed. So that might be a good way to think about actually what you show us in terms of the range of your skills base.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just thinking about that as well. It's just kind of a question just generally came to me, which I think might be quite useful for other people as well. But particularly for drama and performing arts, we said that there's probably going to be lots of different disciplines of people wanting to come and apply to this. So there might be actors, or they may be, people wanting to go on to be directors or writers. So I guess it would be quite interesting to know for everyone if someone was, say, for example, like a writer or maybe a designer, and maybe they've written a scene or something, or they've, they have drawings or something like of stage designs or something. How they'd maybe submit that, whether they do kind of like try and have like a Zoom or live reading with some friends or their family at home, and kind of film that for the video, or whether they could submit like a scene as like a script separately.
Okay, shall I respond to that?
Yeah.
So Barnaby, I think probably what would be most straightforward would be if you've written a script, but it is a kind of a multi-voiced piece, you might be able to persuade someone to do it with you, because we've said that you can submit some Greek work and just make sure we're clear who you are. But it might also be that actually you decide that you talk about that. So this idea that you share what you're enthusiastic about in relation to your subject, and so if you've done some creative work that you feel really kind of pleased with, to talk about it. If it is if you know, so you could describe it, or you could actually show it. Obviously you could hold it up to camera and show it, and I think so I think, you know, keep whatever you're sending us there, you know, hopefully we've given you all these kind of different possibilities, but there is a simplicity in you feeling that it is, you know, 2 to 5 minutes on video, and that's what you're sending us. So whatever you can pack into that, do, but keep it within that format.
Thank you. I was just responding to Charlotte when Eleanor, you said, "Can I come in?" So yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Something that we have been asked in the past is, and maybe it's more to do with dance and performing arts and drama, but maybe not, is do applicants need to show their full body in the camera in terms of the video that they're submitting? I would say for dance, yes. I think it's really important for us to see your kind of physical coordination in terms of how you use the whole of your body in time and space. So I would say yes, for dance, we would like to see a kind of full-bodied version of you on your video. And I guess it depends for drama, maybe what they're submitting, maybe what they're doing.
Yeah, it's up to you, but it doesn't matter if you've decided that actually, like as we are now, that it's a talking head and that's what you're showing us, and yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And I think for performing arts, again, because we're probably asking you for to do some movement practice, to do some voice work, you know, yes, you could absolutely do your spoken piece to camera just as a kind of headshot, like you see us here today. But again, for the movement work, I think it would be really useful to see you in a more full-bodied context. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll just say that it is quite a physical course, so being able to have that coordination is a really good skill to have, and a good skill to show that you have. Great. If you
Thanks,
can.
Millie. Okay. I'm just going to have a look back at our notes and see if there's anything there.
And there's a question that's just come up, Sally, about how much should I explain my performance? So yeah, I suppose it will depend on what your engagement with the subject is, perhaps. So you might feel that you are, you know, that actually, and of course, you know, your performance will speak for itself to a degree. So you might feel that proportionally, you know, the majority is the performance, and then you just, you know, speak briefly at the beginning or at the end, just to tell us what it is, and that would be fine. But actually, you might feel happier talking about what it is you've chosen to show us, and it would depend, you know, what it is that you've put into, and so there can be some explanation. But I suppose I'm not really thinking that I think probably rather than thinking about explaining your performance, I think more think about kind of framing it and just sharing something of yourself in what you say, because the best performances will speak for themselves.
I think when I had to create one of these before, Mark asked, one of the other tutors asked that you, a nice little format might be that you say a bit about why you're passionate for the course, and maybe like an influence. Say you choreograph something, what influenced you to choreograph that? What kind of artists and companies and stuff like that are inspiring you to make this work? Or maybe what else inspired you? It doesn't have to be inspired by a company, but that might give the tutors a sense of kind of what kind of artists and like contemporary work are they engaging in, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, great. Yeah, yes, I think don't feel like you have to describe it to us, because obviously we can see it. You know, if you've got 2 to 5 minutes, what is the most important thing that you want to get across to us within that quite short time frame? So yeah, I think there's some really good answers there from Eleanor and Millie. Okay, Brill. Sometimes we have a question about for dance auditions, should music be added afterwards, or there it is, there's the question. Or should it be recorded? Either way, I don't think we are particularly precious about that. You know, you might want to dance in silence. You know, it's absolutely fine. So either way, whatever works for you in terms of your editing, or, you know, if you're dancing in the park, it might be quite difficult to actually play music at the same time as dancing in the park to record. So either way, I think it's your choice. We're not going to, you know, make or break any decision about you based on whether the music is pre-recorded or it's added afterwards at all. So it's a good question, but I think don't let that worry you at all. Okay, just going to have a look at any other questions and comments that are coming in.
Just while you're looking for that question as well, DMU have a lot of international students, and I know a lot of people on the course at the moment that are on my course actually have had to do these portfolios before. So I wouldn't worry about this being the first time tutors have had to pick who comes on the course due to videos. This is kind of like normal in the university. It's just everyone's having to do this year. So don't worry that it's like a bit of a change, because it is practice already anyway. And I know lots of people who are at DMU who have done online portfolios before. So don't think that it's going to like let you down in any sense as well.
Yeah, thanks, Amelia. I think that's very important to say, actually, and also to reassure candidates that as staff and as admissions tutors and academics, you know, we are really familiar with this as a process for auditions, you know. So yes, we're not coming to this afresh this year. Obviously, we're just asking everybody who's applying to us to be applying to us through this mode. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing to say, Millie. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so I think that we have no more outstanding comments or questions from visitors who have joined us today in the chat, and so we could leave it just a minute or so, and I can just begin to wrap up, perhaps. And then if something else does filter through, then obviously we're still here to deal with that. So just to say then, I hope that has been useful for you. Hopefully you've had some of your questions answered about this process this year. Obviously, you are inevitably applying throughout the whole, well, between now and I believe it's next May, forgive me if that's incorrect, but I can imagine that we will be receiving some UCAS applications sometime very soon. So my sense is when you apply via UCAS, you could and probably should be thinking about your digital submission right away. Don't wait for us to ask you for it. You know, be thinking and prepping and planning for that now, so that you're really prepared when you get the request from us to submit something digitally. Start planning, start scoping it out now, start choreographing in your shower cubicle or in your porch, and get ready to send that in to us as and when we ask you for it. But yeah, there will be more of these digital submission advice sessions throughout the year, I'm sure. So by all means, please join us again in the future. If you have any questions that haven't been answered today, then please do contact admissions@DMU, drop them an email, and they'll forward it on to us, who can obviously answer any questions or queries that you have. But I think, just looking at the comments, there's nothing else which is coming in. So let's bring this to a close then now. Just to say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. And thank you to Eleanor, Barnaby and Millie for your contribution today as well. Really, really super valuable. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there's a question that's just come in. Charlotte, I'm not sure whether you're going to, perfect, okay. Do I need to pay attention to my English when I am an international student? As an international student, we would ask you to do a qualification, which is your IELTS, so that we can gauge what your reading skills are like, what your listening, your speaking English skills are like. So obviously we'll have that information available to us anyway when you apply. But I would say yes. Obviously you are communicating to us in your piece to camera. So it's important that we can understand what you're saying, that we can understand the points that you want to share with us. So I would say yes. I think it is important to pay attention to your spoken English when you are applying to us. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and on that note, unless there's nothing else that's going to come in, let's let's close. So yeah, Millie, Barnaby, Eleanor, thank you very much. Thank you all for your comments and contributions, and have a very nice evening, what's left of your day. Okay, bye-bye.